Sasha.
Hi, Papisa. Is that your real name?
Not really. My name is Rita.
Rita.
It's
Okay.
Rita. We say Rita in Brazil.
Rita, because you
But
don't
it's
say the R, yeah?
yeah, we pronounce the R like an H.
Okay. Rita,
And
okay. My name is
Rita.
Sasha.
Sasha, nice,
And
really
yours?
nice to meet you.
And you.
So, how do you pronounce your artistic name? Is this Perera Elsewhere? Is it?
It's really funny because you're talking about the R being silent, and
Yeah.
obviously the name Perera obviously also exists in Brazil, but with a different spelling, right? You put an
Yeah.
I.
Yeah,
Yeah?
well, actually, yeah, with night, that's true. And we speak differently as well. We pronounce it like the arts as an T, like Pereira.
So in Portugal, how would they pronounce it? And in Brazil, how would they pronounce it? I'm interested.
Pereira.
In both places, the same. Perera.
Yeah. Portugal and Brazil. I think so. It's a little bit, there's an accent that is a little bit different, but the sound would be like that, Pereira.
Okay, so you get people like me with no I in there in Goa and in Sri Lanka. As far as I know, it's just in Goa, which was a Portuguese colony, Goa
Oh
in
yeah.
India, right? And in Sri Lanka, which was a Portuguese colony. So in Sri Lanka, it's the most common name, Pereira. It's a really common name. It's like every bakery is called Pereira.
Oh.
Fernando is really common. De Silva, it's all really common because the first colonizer was Portugal, right?
Oh, I
So I
didn't know
would
that.
pronounce it with a horrible English accent. I would say Perera Elsewhere, which to me almost rhymes. Yeah. And if you say it in an Italian accent, it really rhymes. So you can go Perera Elsewhere. Now we get it, right?
Okay, that's perfect.
It's stupid, but.
Pereira Elsewhere.
Yeah. But I live
But
in Germany and it's a really horrible word here. Like you do radio interviews and people are like, Perera Elsewhere. And you're like, oh God, that's really unsexy, man.
so you're used then to this mispronouncement of your of your name
Yeah, I mean,
everywhere.
actually, funnily, my parents gave me the name Sasha, which is quite an international name. It's actually a Russian boy's name. And they gave me that as opposed to some kind of Sri Lankan name that nobody could pronounce because they were like, your name's going to get raped anyway. But for me, it
Yeah.
sounds a bit funny. But anyway, the product of some serious human commodity movement of colonialism. So I'm not so vain about it. What's there to be vain about, right?
Well, yeah, we can accept what
But
comes.
it is nice to know that there are a lot of countries in the world where people pronounce my name differently and spell it, and there are lots of kind of subjects,
Yeah,
no
definitely,
matter what.
definitely. So, what is your origin? Like your parents and ancestors?
They're
Do
Sri
you,
Lankan. My mother's
should I?
side, Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, Sri
Sri
Lanka.
Lanka. That's
Yeah.
why I have this Portuguese name because of Sri Lanka.
Oh,
So my
got
mum's
it.
side is Sinhala and my dad's side is a Tamil. It's just two races within that. I was actually born a Ravindranathan. I was born with a 14-letter Tamil surname from my father, and
Yeah.
at some point after my parents split up, I just changed it to my mother's name, and
Okay.
which is a Portuguese colonial name, which makes you sound like a stripper rather than a mathematician, because the Tamil
Okay.
name I had really made you sound like a mathematician, which is also quite cool. But
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
Yeah. For the artistic pronounce and goal, I think prayer is a very it's very it's good sounding.
It's
It's
easier.
strong.
Put it this way, it's easier for the Western ear, right? If you see a 14-letter name in front of you, most people
Yeah.
shy away from the paper and say, oh, I don't want to read that word. I
Yeah,
can't
that's
pronounce
true.
that word.
There are some
I don't want,
courageous.
yeah, it's
Sorry.
like I don't want to employ that person because I can't pronounce their name every day. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And I always think for bands and artists, it's a very courageous act, like to have a name like that, like Quarumbing. Do you know that band? I'm not
That's true, yeah.
Quarumbing. I'm not even sure
Well,
how
they're
to.
huge. If you think about it, they're huge. They've got
Yeah,
huge with a name which nobody can really pronounce, right?
there you go. So they're kind of an exception, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So talking about ancestors, this is a subject that I really felt about bringing here because I feel like that your music has a kind of it might be a way of connecting yourself with like the origin and the ancestors through the rhythm and through like researching, because I think what I heard from your music, it brings a lot of native and kind of a ritual aspect of music to the songs, to the tracks. And I was curious about like your music research and how does it how does all these different rhythms and these influences come to your creation when you're
I guess,
when
to
you're
be honest, in a way from club music, because there is a lot of experimental club music which takes on kind of ritualistic patterns. It uses
yeah,
a loop a lot, you know.
yep, yep,
And if you're not just playing techno or house, there's tons of other electronic music which has always, you know, sampled different sort of sounds, you know. So if
yeah,
I'm honest about it, I think it's coming probably from London, the way that people make very diverse club music, or have done over my lifetime, basically, and the
yeah,
willingness to experiment with these things, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
actually from a very electronic kind of place as well, because of the way that you loop things. You know what I
yep,
mean? So
yeah,
I
yeah,
think you can
definitely,
hear in my music that in some of my stuff is done in a looped way, and some of it is done just played on top or whatever with freely. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it kind of comes from this. And I guess with this whole elsewhere thing, it's funny because I guess in a way it is reflecting that musically I'm definitely not entirely in one place, yeah, but even also as a person I'm not entirely in one place, right? Which is not
yeah,
just true of me, it's true of a hell of a lot of people, right? But
definitely,
I do
definitely,
believe that some kid living in a village somewhere who didn't come from London could probably make the same music just per
yeah,
chance through having all these kinds of musical influences, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. It's
It
kind
will probably
of
come from the fact that I have a lot of musical influences, and I don't know. I mean, I play instruments and I studied music to an extent, but not to the extent that anybody really said that's in that genre, that's in that genre. No, I never really analyzed it in the way of like, I think people who really study music and then they understand what's going on in everything in a way, probably before they do something, they think about it. And I
yeah.
don't. I just think, oh, whatever, let's see what's going to happen. It's
That's
exciting.
perfect. I think that's really I really can relate to that. And I was that was something that I was about to ask you too, because I like to relate to music in a very instinctual and intuitive way, and I think that's something like what you're talking about. It's not like, okay, I'm gonna take this influence and this rhythm and put it here. I don't really know what I'm doing usually. Like people say, oh, this sounds like something, and sometimes I don't even know what it is. So it's interesting how we can like uh
I
be
think even I think from error, a lot comes out. You know, sometimes you think, okay, I'm going to make a mixture of this and that, and then you try it, and then it just ends up something totally different, either
yeah,
good or bad. You know, I don't
yeah,
think
yeah,
even if you want to imitate things, or for me at least, even if I would want to imitate something, in a way, I don't think I could. I would always deviate at some point. You know?
yeah.
But
Definitely, definitely,
and maybe it's also skills. You know, some people who are entirely skilled in kind of
yeah,
making copies or sound alikes all the time, then they
yeah,
kind of do that. But I think I'm actually incapable of really making a sound alike. You know what I mean?
yeah. I definitely
I lose
know.
concentration in the middle and I'll do something else. So
Yeah, definitely. And also another thing about that really interests me about this elsewhere thing, because when I did my solo project named Papisa like 4 years ago. I used to play with bands before, and then when I got this name, I actually borrowed it from the tarot, like reading cards.
okay, what does
uh
papisa mean?
Papisa is like the high priestess. It
In
comes,
Portuguese, papisa, yeah.
yeah, and it comes from the first time I saw it was in a tarot French card,
Mm-hmm.
Papessi, and then I did my research. In classical tarot, it's called Papisa. It's like a female pope, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And
I
it
get
for
it.
me,
Yeah.
yeah, and for me, it has this really spiritual place where the music can be. And for
It's a
me,
big
actually,
name. It's a big name. I guess if you hear this, like priestess, comes with a
yeah,
lot of expectation before it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
If you call
And
yourself doorknob as a band or something, it's different. But if you say priestess, everyone's like, whoa, where's the priestess? Right? It's a lot of the heavy
yeah,
one, heavy choice.
definitely. And it came from a really like kind of deep process of relating to music in a different way. I recorded like everything in my house, and I used to call my studio like a temple studio, like a sanctuary, a
Oh, okay.
temple, like a, like a sanctuary.
A temple. I get.
Temple,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. And
Okay.
for me it's like it really creates the environment. Even like when I go live, I really like to work on all the with all the environment, like with smell and all the senses. And I also, when I saw this in your work, like you do mix like the visual and the textures of the song, the music.
I mean, on
to,
my first album, I recorded at home, and I definitely just put the compression up really loud and
yeah,
played my guitar over a room microphone. So I was
yeah,
just picking up a lot of the room sound. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
In your first one, the
in
first
my
album.
first one, that's why this
Yeah,
guitar sounds so far away, because I just recorded it on a really nice compressor, a condenser mic with a
yeah.
really serious compressor, and I was literally playing very quietly because I am the worst guitar player, I promise, right? And then you just get so much sound from the room that it sounded really spooky, and then I just cut bits out which I liked and kind of
Yeah,
looped them, because as I said, being a crap guitar player, forget it. You play that for years. It's no point, right? And for
yeah,
me, it was also spiritual. It's like, okay, I want the sound of this room. I don't want to put on a reverb from somewhere else. I want to use my room, you know? And of course,
yeah,
sometimes I'd add a bunch of other reverbs. But for me, spiritually, it was a bit like, well, that place I lived in at that time in my
yeah,
life, right? Those
yeah,
takes happened
yeah,
within a sort of. But sometimes I think it's
yeah.
also just like people who've had too much internet looking for spirituality. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
If
Definitely.
you need it, do it. You know what I mean? We have to create our own. We have to create our own spirituality, because we are in that like
Definitely.
generation McDonald's, MacBook, Michael Jackson
Yeah.
screen. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And well, that's really funny. Like, yeah,
We
we
do.
just
You
had
know?
too much internet, and we now
Yeah.
we're
Now we're like, hey, what do I need? You know? Whatever.
yeah.
If we're
Yeah.
inspired, it doesn't matter. We're inspired by good things and bad things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that music can be spiritual, even though if you don't speak about it, if you don't talk about it in your music or anything. For me, music is it takes you to a place, you
You
know?
know how I describe it? It's like if you're jamming music or if you're producing music, you kind of forget about time. Suddenly you look up and you're like, wow, so much time has gone. When else does that happen?
Yeah.
Maybe when you're
Yeah.
having sex, nice sex, yeah, it happens, right? Maybe
Yeah.
taking drugs, it happens, right? So
Yeah.
in a way, I kind of like this whole like window of like, whoa, that happened, irrelevant of everything else in the room and irrelevant of the rest of the world. You get what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah,
in a way,
definitely.
this kind
It
of
can.
elsewhere thing is it, am I elsewhere or do I want to go elsewhere? These are two things, you know? And I think sometimes I am actually elsewhere and other times I'm not elsewhere, but I want to go elsewhere. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's like, for me, it's like elsewhere can be a state of mind as well, like the
Mm-hmm.
trance, like you're saying, like when you're
Yeah, I
playing
think
music.
even politically, for me, it's politically as well. You know, you have the
Oh,
political mainstream, you have
yeah,
people who kind of adhere to whatever the kind of modern family, technological, whatever political values of the time.
yeah,
And people are sometimes trying to look for at least a sort of not a completely alternative existence, but kind of something which exists for them and their friends and their family or whatever, or their passions or their visions and spirituality or whatever in sort of their own elsewhere, I think, you know.
yeah, definitely. And I think for me, it has to do with dreaming a different way of living, a different like system, a different way. I think music has actually a role in that, because it's imagination. We work with imagination, and we work with creating things, and with the subjective. I think it might have to do with what you're saying. It's like we live this reality right now that we're not really happy about. Like in Brazil, we have like a
I
chaotic
know.
political um, time in history, and and actually music is being in a value system. It's being kind of taken the support we used to have. Like it's being harder. they are making harder for people to make music in Brazil. But I think these are the times where we need the most, like the art and the imagination and the dream to bring the subjective to something that is kind of real, because it gets real when you're on stage or when you're recording. And then
I think generally music is the most accessible art form, in the sense that you can play it to anyone, irrelevant if their kind of language skills, irrelevant of their whatever education skills, irrelevant anything. You can play someone something and say good or bad, and people can react to it without having formal knowledge. You take someone to an art gallery, majority of people will just be alienated by the look of the building, the design of the building, maybe the color of the people inside, maybe the wealth of the people inside. You get what I'm saying? A lot of people will be alienated from different forms of art, saying, I don't understand architecture, I don't understand whatever modern art. But music, you'll be like, look, man has always been banging on something, you know what I mean? And I think in a way this is something which is invaluable to people in music, and back in the day when, I don't know how religious it is in Brazil. I guess a lot more religious than in Germany right now, but probably much less religious than 30 years ago, right?
I'm not sure right now, because we have this mix like with politics and religion right now, which is very scary, like
But Bolsonaro is totally like religious, or what? No.
Sorry, both.
So people like Bolsonaro, they're really religious. This is the religious right in Brazil. The right wing is totally religious.
We have a right government that wants to bring like more
family values.
Yes, to the politics, which is not actually what's written in the law, but that's what we've been living for like 2 years right now. And it's funny because in Brazil we have a lot of different religion, but we have then this Christian based kind of way of thinking and the values that don't really accept all the diversity and all the other. It's very rich in Brazil because of our African ascendants as well. And also the music that comes from this, which I want to show you later. But sorry,
you want to show me music from Brazil, right?
Yeah, I really want to. Well, when I was listening to your songs, there were some artists from Brazil that you reminded me of because of different things. I'm not sure, it's just a feeling,
Yeah, I would love to hear.
Yeah, one of that is Jussara Marçal, and she's got a record called Encarnado.
What does Encarnado mean?
Well, this is very interesting.
Incarnation. It's not to do with reincarnation.
Yeah, actually it has, but it's got it. Incarnation comes from like the spirit in meat, in flesh. Meat is what you eat, right? On the flesh, like spirit on the flesh, kind of that. I think it has to do with embodiment, something like embodiment.
Okay.
I'm not sure about if incarnation would be the right meaning in English, maybe, but it has much more to do with embodiment, like being in a body, having a body. And Jussara has a really like, she's really connected with I feel with the traditional music, really traditional, like this religion thing that we were talking about. We have like all these different places in Brazil. Brazil is huge, and a lot of small, like how to say this? It's
like old indigenous religions, like spirituality from before colonial. Colonial powers came, I guess, right?
Yeah, it came here and it translated. It turned out to be other things, but very related to each religion, which region from Brazil. And she did a work with her, with a former band, where they would actually travel Brazil and get to these little places and know like what people were doing in ritual music.
Mhm.
from Brazil, which is really like the other way coming when we are talking about people trying to establish a certain way of thinking, you know, with like the right and Christian way of thinking. So when you go and you discover all these places with all these different rituals and stuff, it becomes really rich for
Yes,
the music.
I guess in places further away from the city, in rural places, which were
Yeah,
not as
this
colonized
is
in the same
definitely
sense, right?
that's
Okay.
yeah, definitely that's what I'm trying to say here.
Okay.
And I'll try to share my YouTube right now with you. Let us see if it's gonna play here. I'll try this.
Não diga que estamos morrendo.
And
Okay,
something.
interesting. Does she work alone? Is she looping all that stuff? Or how is that?
No, not really. She works. I think Kiko Dinucci produced this album. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
no, she works with musicians. And I was thinking about it actually when I was playing this because I'm not sure what reminded me of her in your song, but it's not like the definitely not the creative process because
At the
she works.
beginning, it sounded like a loop, and I wondered
Yeah,
at the beginning if she's just loop stuff or whatever.
yeah.
But I
Well,
found it interesting.
yeah, I'm pretty sure they are playing because like these she works with a lot of musicians that are really technical as well.
Hmm.
And but she just has this, I don't know, something that reminded me about this death. Maybe it came from some place I felt more than what I thought, you know, about the way you do things and
Hmm.
everything.
No, I liked the
And
loopiness at the beginning. I liked it.
yeah, I think
I'm
it's
sure she loves her voice more than I do. Like half the
okay.
reason that I produce and I produce all my stuff is because I just don't love my voice that much. Obviously, I think I've got a nice voice and I write nice songs sometimes, but
Yeah,
I just don't really feel like a singer. Like you don't hear me in the shower like singing all the time. You don't hear
yeah,
me like busting out at every opportunity to like sing in the room in front of other people.
yeah.
For some reason, for me, it's like, of course, I sang as a kid and stuff for fun, but I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know. I can't sing 3 octaves, and I don't know. I like to mess around with my own voice in terms of, I like to put weird effects on my voice, double myself, pitch it. I don't know. Sometimes I
Yeah.
leave stuff natural, but part of my process is kind of to manipulate my own voice
Hmm.
in a
And this
way.
is what being a producer as well of your own record and your own stuff, it allows you to do like you can just
But
work
some people don't want
exactly.
to do that. Some people really love their own voice, which I
Yeah,
totally respect. I mean, I also
yeah,
listen to
yeah,
music where people don't mess with their own voice all the time. I listen to a lot of instrumental music, it has to be said.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
probably, so I just listen to a lot of instrumental music. I listen to stuff with
yeah,
vocals as well, but probably I'm listening to like 70% instrumental music at least.
yeah. That's interesting. For me, I started as an instrumentalist as well.
What did you play?
I played the piano, this piano here actually,
Hmm.
that you're singing
As a
just behind
kid or
me.
what? You played really
As
well
a
as a kid,
as a kid, yeah.
and you were
And
like pro.
I used to play like classical music, so well, I was not like really pro, but I ended up like I studied for 10 years, so I was playing like Beethoven, you say like that, Beethoven.
Yeah, so you
And
focused and you finished basically, right?
yeah, but actually it kind of showed me that I didn't want to go on with classical music, especially because I like this experimental side of music and the creation more than anything. So for
Kind of,
me,
yeah.
yeah, it was not as well like, oh, I'm gonna be a singer, I never saw myself like that as well. I started playing instruments, and then I started to play the drums and then guitar, and then it just came because I just loved music so much, but I
Mm-hmm.
didn't actually think I was gonna like do this
It's really hard to be like a really perfect session musician or work in orchestras or go to this level. I think it's really hard. It's like being Olympic athlete. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And I think I would never be able to cope with that kind of mental pressure, and was kind of too unconcentrated and wanted to just change instrument all the time, and probably just actually too lazy to do really focused exercise all the time. I play the trumpet. The trumpet is the instrument I played the longest, but I also played the keys as a kid. But I don't know, it's a journey. You've got to either have the sort of personality you can really stick to it,
Yeah,
or
definitely.
not. And I think my musical, probably it's concentration issues in there.
Yeah, but you should, but as a producer, you probably concentrate like big periods of time in the production, right?
So but I don't have to wait for other people. Like the worst for me is if I'm sitting around waiting for other people, because then I start like smoking and I talk and I distract them and I annoy everyone, you know what I mean? So in the end, I'm like, okay, I'm doing it alone. I have to just shut up and I just do it. And even if I get frustrated, kind of, I don't know, I find it easier. I'm not so good at waiting. I'm a bit of a weirdo. I'm a bit like a 4-year-old, a bit like a 4-year-old in like preschool class. He's like, so
yeah. Well, I think I might have done like in a solo project because of that as well. I just like to work in my rhythm, and I just need to get things done when I need them done.
Also being dependent on other people, and then if they do something you don't like, you're like, hey, listen, thanks for doing that, but I actually really hate that and I could do it so much better. Well then you just got got to do it, because otherwise who doesn't get annoyed,
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm curious now. I also work with astrology. What is your sun sign?
Okay, so what's my star sign? You have to guess.
Star sign.
Yeah, guess.
I would guess Aries.
No, but you're close. I don't really believe in it. I've got to tell you, it's not that I don't believe in it. I respect everyone. It's that my dad's side are all Hindus, which means they were all super superstitious, right? In his street in Sri Lanka, there was no number 13. My grandmother was always like, don't do anything without asking the stars. And I was like, not sure. Right?
Okay. But
so
it's too much.
It. Yeah, but maybe because it's like almost culturally within the strain that I was like, no. But whenever people ask me, what are you? And I tell them, they're like, that makes so much sense.
I can see you're like rolling eyes. And
So tell me, what am I? I'm close to Aries. I'm very close to Aries.
You're close, like maybe a fire, Leo or
somebody who has plays a lot of different instruments, because they wake up every day as a different person.
Gemini. You're a Gemini.
Yes, of course.
You're a Gemini. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It's really obvious. And you? I mean, I won't know what to say, but what are you?
I am an Aries.
And what is an Aries?
Well, autonomy, that's what I'm talking about. I like to do things my own way. And I worked with bands for a long time, and then I always wanted to produce something that I could put all the concept on that. And actually it has really something about waiting as well, we were saying, I don't want to.
And discussions, like it's when there's an energy with a band, it's a bit like a relationship, right? When the energy is flowing, it's like the greatest thing that could have happened. But as soon as the energy is not flowing, it's like the biggest inhibition to your whole life, and you have to maneuver all these like discussions, emotional terror, fuck knows,
I definitely know what you mean.
So maybe it's just to be like, hey, fuck you, celibacy,
it's like a marriage without like sex,
it's exactly usually, like that. I was with my band for like 10 years. We released 3 albums, and it was really amazing. I learned a lot from them. I didn't learn anything about production from them, to be fair, because it was 2 people in a band. There's not enough room around a screen for more than 2 people. There was nothing to learn from them. But I learned a lot about finishing things, about working with people, about being, I don't know, we toured a lot, and it was great. In the end, it was fun. But the last few years were pretty like everyone having that crisis, everyone having that ego, everyone blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm ready. But it took me time to really learn to produce. My first album sounds the way it sounds because I couldn't produce. I could not produce beats, which I liked. So I was like, okay, no beats on the album. Okay, I like the melodies, I like the vocals, I like the vibes, I like the songwriting, but please don't put shitty beats on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because I actually learned to accept my limits and my limitations and started working with this. I couldn't play the guitar as well.
Which is the best thing you can do. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the best thing you can do. And your second album doesn't have to be like that. Just work with what you got and take the time to develop. And in the end, you are the artist. So what's the problem?
Yeah, definitely. I can make mistakes on stage. You know, I started playing by myself actually in the beginning. Just like I did a lot of solo shows, and it was very like I felt the freedom for like, being able to make mistakes and okay, it's my show. You know, I can
and not some evil looks from the band like bitch, sort it out. You know, and. No,
and there's no guilt about it, and it's like it was very experimental for me, like to kind of go and work with my fears as well on stage. And
so when you played all these solo shows, what were you playing? What instruments were you? What was your setup?
I had the guitar and Ableton with me. So I was.
And you're a bad guitar player like me, a bad guitar player.
Yeah. I think I got better now. Like with the years, I might be better than I was. But yeah, it was hard. Like I was like, no, playing an instrument that I wasn't used to play, and it was really nice for me to do this because I didn't want to play the piano anymore. Like I didn't want to. I actually needed to unlearn some music. You know, like for me, it was this process of.
I found it horrible. I found the fact that I made this album where everyone goes, okay, she's a singer-songwriter. I was like, look, I'm like a weird producer who can't really produce and writes good songs and cannot play the guitar. So people were like, cool, let's go and see her show. She's going to stand there with a guitar and sing like some fucking female Bob Dylan or something. And I was like, shit, I can't play a guitar. And also because of my last project, literally, I'd write all the songs and I was kind of like an MC. I held the mic like this, I moved like this. And then I'm like, I'm locked. I can't move. I can't actually communicate with people with my body, which in the end, I was like, that's not me. You know, I can piss around with the guitar, but it was so important for me on the stage to actually physically be like, hi, I'm here. So I play keys because I played it as a kid. I'm definitely not a great key player, but I could write stuff that I can play and I compose what I can play. And then if I have to relearn it to get it really good on the stage or whatever, I can. But I just don't write things I can't play because it makes me feel really like, I'm going to stand at a place and do something really complicated. I don't want that. I want to feel chill. I want to feel happy. I want to feel, you know what I mean? And this is also a learning process to know what you want. I just realized that I'm a really physical person, right? So I can play keys, I can play samplers, I can play the trumpet. But at some point, I've got to move away and get the mic and be like, people, I'm here. It's just me, you know? And this being trapped behind an instrument, I was a bit like, oh my God, how do you communicate with people when you're trapped behind an instrument you play badly?
I know. I feel that as well. I haven't sorted that out actually yet. And you know, because my solo shows, I still feel like that because I have a lot of things to push, you know, and buttons and live Ableton doing.
There's so many options for your live set. There's so many options. It's hard to know. In the end, you've got to try it out. But I would generally say focus on the things you can do well, you know, to try and make at least 70% of your show sit well, and then fuck around with a bit more where you might fuck up. Who cares? You know what I mean?
But definitely.
I think it's kind of like this, you know.
Yeah, and I really, this movement thing. I try to free myself from the instruments, but I think it's comfortable for me to have an instrument, you know, and play because maybe I'm not that comfortable anymore without one.
That picture of you behind you on the piano, you look pretty physical there. That picture.
Oh, that's not me. That's Janie's dropping.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, she's cool though. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just really free. Actually, she's a symbol of freedom, you know, for me.
And it's weird because I am, as soon as like, also with my old project, everything, as soon as I play music, I also DJ, I am really like present. Yeah, I'm actually, and then I make this music, which is really like, hi, I'm going to commit suicide and you can all come to my funeral. And you're like, okay, so how do I communicate that now? You know, like where you're not playing in a morgue. The people are not sitting on the floor, right? They're fucking
And how do you do this? How do you do this?
The only solution to all of this was to make more music, release more music, and make from a bigger repertoire choose like the best tracks which make a show, because in the end it's a fucking show, right? If you made music to kill yourself on the record, fine, maybe you can play a couple of them, but in the end just play what works for you, because it's a show. It doesn't need to be the same as that album. That's what I think, you know.
I like to think like that as well, but for me it was a challenge because I released my first album like 1.5 years ago, and it was like the subject was death, you know. I can really relate to what you're talking about. And then that's why I think I found it was important to create all this environment in atmosphere, because it's kind of taking people to a kind of state of mind, you know. This is what I like to think about like that, which you do when you're on a club as well, like playing electronic music. I think that's the same kind of concept, you know. But for me it was a challenge because I was thinking, okay, how can I take this record to a festival, you know, like where people are really agitated, and then what can I do? So for me it was more like a record to be played in theaters and this kind of places. And now I'm really looking for other things again. But actually when I started playing solo, I took my songs and I reproduced them. I did everything different. I would take like do shows, and people would say, okay, this is different from what I heard in the recording. And for me it's like that, you know, this is the show, this is how I choose it right now.
Who wants to go to a show where it sounds exactly like on the record, and you see like this kind of like constructed person who looks like they look just on the cover on the record, who say exactly the same things that they say in the interviews? That's bullshit. You want to go there and be like, oh, is that what that person's like? Cool. To me it's more like, look, love it or hate it, you saw a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
I even got to the point with my first record where I was like, this is so impossible to play live because the vocals are so hyper condensed and quiet. I'm singing like, can't do that loud. It's gonna like fucking feedback. So I was like, maybe I should just play the music, take 8 dancers walking around naked with blood all over them, put a strobo light and sit in the front row and smoke a joint. I don't know, you know, I was a bit like, what do I do now? Somehow I got through that record. And my second record, because I learned to produce, it became a bit fatter. Everything became fatter. And now I've just got enough of a repertoire to play enough from my album, and also play other versions with my band where I freak out and do other things, whatever. I think I mean, over time, I'm just thinking, look, it's like, it's about you being an artist and people getting to see you doing stuff live. And as long as it is hopefully touching, moving, exciting and entertaining and real, then what else? And if you don't like it, ask for your money back. You know what I mean? So, but it is.
Okay, that's
kind of, you know.
Yeah.
It's a process for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's about putting yourself there and creating whatever you want to, and it's about freedom, you know. For me it's about freedom as well.
It's also interesting because we're at an age where you can just produce whatever you want at home. Like literally you could just like be the most awful piano player in the world and go and then if you just edit out the bit which makes you sound like you went to jazz school in New York for 15 years, right, then you have it on your record and everyone's like, wow. And then you're like, oh, but what can I actually do in real life, right?
Definitely.
And you have so many options. You have so many options of what you want to play live. And also, if you're playing solo alone, obviously you can't play 10 instruments alone, even though you did play them on your record, you know?
Yeah.
And on your record, you played them once, not 15 times tight. You managed to play it once tight, and you maybe even edited it so it sounded better.
Or you played it 1,000 times and then took like the 3 best of them.
No, I don't have the concentration to play anything 1,000 times. I just put stuff in and I'm just like, okay, that's cool. And I live with it. And it's rare that I'll be like, okay, I want to do this 1,000 times. I'll just be like, okay, I'm not good at this. I'll do something else.
That's good. That's very Gemini, I would say. Okay.
Probably. But with my band, it was different because you had 3 people who were like, oh, but hey, you want to do 1,000 takes? I was like, no, mate, I don't want to do 1,000 takes. Not when you guys are waiting there like...
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I get very obsessed with something, and then I just keep playing, and then I have to remove myself from that because otherwise I would be like forever playing the same thing. But I feel what you're saying, because I like it when it comes from an instinctual moment.
Yeah,
I think
like the fifth time you sing something, to me it sounds like already you don't even mean it anymore, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But nowadays I'm better than I was before, because before I was like, look, the sacred one is the first take, anything else is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And nowadays I'm like, okay, I make something and then I just stop making it and I put it away for a while and I open it up and go, okay, that has some potential. I finish it, I'll be like, okay, that second verse is shit.
Yeah.
Go and re-record your second verse. But then I'm leaving the rest. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not as stubborn as before. I'm kind of like, okay, it's all right. The first verse is the first take. Second verse has been written later. But
yeah, I think as long as you're happy with what you hear, I think that's
hard
for me. This
to
is
be
my
happy.
yeah.
Hard to be happy.
It's hard to find like the right balance between
perfectionism and depression.
Definitely. Definitely, this is what it's about. Like you're not ever, I think, entirely happy, but then you have to say, okay, I can live with that, I can
yeah, if you were entirely happy, you'd work in something else, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's always I always like to say that you don't finish any arts or music, you just abandon it, it just.
And also I think classically artists are people who want to prove things to themselves and other people, otherwise they would be like, other people have jobs and just make music on the side, right?
Yeah,
like we
definitely.
know tons of talented people who do that, so
yeah,
artists are a little bit kind of nutcase because they have so many fucking ego issues.
That's true.
Bless us
there
all.
we go.
Bless us. Yeah.
Bless us. There we
bless
go.
us. God bless us, right? So
yeah. Okay, let me show you another
please.
Another artist
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
I don't, if I'm thinking about Brazilian artists, oh shit, the only people I really know of at the moment is this, Linda Quebrada.
Linda Quebrada.
These people, that whole crew of people from Sao Paulo. This guy Pininga, the DJ of Linda Quebrada, is called Pininga.
I'm not. I don't
he
think
DJ'd at my birthday. I did like a birthday a couple of years ago. We sent money to Sri Lanka for a mental health charity. Super cool dude. Played at this crew because they played at this festival, Transmediala, which I played at as well in Berlin. It's probably like the only thing, I don't know, what's that club called in Sao Paulo? Is it Vampire or something like this? There's some club where all of that
Inferno,
crew play.
Maybe,
and I just hear great things about that city and that scene. But I mean, obviously there's tons of stuff. I'm just saying what my current kind of year and a half ago.
Actually, I was thinking about like I thought about like this band I was gonna show you is like a more organic band with instruments and stuff, and Ling would come from this kind of electronic scene more, I would say. And the performance as well, I think it's like I think it's really nice. So there is an artist that I think might have to do with these two environments, which is Luisa Leão. I really like her.
Luisa Leão.
Yeah, she's been working with a producer, Charlie, and she mixes really traditional rhythms and spirituality from like candomblé and from the mix of African and European religion that we have in Brazil, like that. That is really ritualistic.
What's that called?
Candomblé. And
okay,
Umbanda,
that's what
we have like
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to look like a dick and get it wrong, but I should have said it right. I'm joking. Candomblé. Okay, yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one. I now forgot it. Which one of those I think is Umbanda. Yeah, it's Umbanda. But anyway, she's done a visual album called Oi Futuro, which is really nice. But well, I was not gonna show like I was gonna show you in real time, so we're not gonna have time to see it all.
Okay, sorry.
But maybe let me see. I can choose a song.
It's a video or it's a song?
It was a video, but I think we can get a video clip that comes out of it. Let me see if it's got like the divisions of the songs.
Okay.
Okay, now
you live in Recife, right? Papisa, you live in Rita.
There you go.
You live in Recife, yeah?
Not really. I live in right now. I'm living in Jundiaí, which is my hometown. Well, I was born in São Paulo.
Where is Jundiaí?
Jundiaí is like 40 minutes away from São Paulo.
Okay, so basically it's still Sao Paulo, I guess.
Yeah, it's just really close. But the first record, my first EP was released by how to say this again? I forgot the label from Recife, which is probably why.
Okay. Which is why they knew you and stuff. Okay.
Yeah, but I live in São Paulo right now, but I'm kind of not really staying in one place right now.
Can you do 1 second? Hang on for a second. I want to find a lighter. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. To do this, and I'll manage the songs here as well while you do this.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just put like on the middle of the video, and we'll see a piece, like let me share the screen like in the right way right now. Okay, there you go.
No alto da montanha vejo vendaval. Preparo a minha casa para temporal. Depois dessa tormenta eu vou me encontrar. Minha mãe me chama para balançar. A 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 minha mãe me chama para balançar.
Okay. No, it's interesting. I like some of that vocal effects and stuff. It was cool. It was quite soulful R&B, but it was also a bit dark in spots. So I liked it.
Yeah, I think
it's just nice language, man. Just sounds nice on music, Sounds just a beautiful
Portuguese. I like it.
It's so it really fits to music. Like, no offense to Germany in that, but please, as a musical language, it's hard, to make German flow is hard.
Yeah. So do you write in German? Are you you speak German?
No. I speak German fluently, and I like it as a language to speak or whatever. But in music, it can be. It doesn't sound great, I don't think, on music. There are examples, of course, where it does, but it's hard to make it flow. Whereas Portuguese, it just sounds great with music, man. It's got flow. It fits to music rhythmically.
I like it as well. I like English as well because I'm used to this, but I've always written in Portuguese because I like the way like it can be percussive as well, like the divisions.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's the Latin stuff, I think, that it's really
it flows.
Yeah, and the melodies, I think, are really specific from the way we speak, like the music from the language, and you don't really have to like understand the lyrics to get it. It's nice. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. So this was Luisa Liang, and the thing about it is like seeing the whole movie. Because I, like seeing from the beginning, and what she does live on stage is really nice because she's got all these lasers and lights, and it's really like a kind of an artist. Forgot.
Well, it's got a lot of emphasis on audiovisual, her stuff, right?
Yeah,
okay.
definitely, and it's like a performance as well, like an installation. You say that art installation on stage. I would say something like that. So it's a nice artist to know.
Where's she from?
She's from São Paulo as well, and from here and. She does. She plays with just one producer, with the producer Charlie with her. She doesn't play with a band, and there's a lot of vocal effects on stage as well. It's really nice to see how they developed this, like
sound,
through the years, like how the vocal performance goes with the effects and everything.
Yeah, because to basically recreate that live is completely different to doing it on production.
Definitely. So do you play with the band right now, right? You do play with the band.
Well, before Corona, when one used to play, right? I used to play. I played solo live shows, and I also played with my drummer and bass player. So I did different formats, and I also DJ.
Yeah.
So with my drummer and bass player, we actually started creating different live versions, which are a hybrid of some of the tracks which I've made and versions with them. So the shows like that. And otherwise I play alone with my computer and stuff and play some live instruments as well. But I like playing with I play with Ableton. Both shows I'm using Ableton and stuff, and I'm running them through my computer. But what I think is interesting is just sometimes when you're on a bigger stage, it's really nice to like jam off this unpredictable energy of playing with two other humans, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And it is also nice to play alone in like smaller kind of more theatre style venues or weird sort of installation style shows, but if you're playing like a banging festival or something, it is amazing just to also play with my drummer and stuff, who is very dynamic as a drummer,
Yeah, for me it's really the same here, because I was playing by myself, and then I didn't really want to go to a bigger stage in this format, because it's about the energy that some people do, like even like especially for DJs.
Exactly. I DJ as well, but I DJ bass music, like weird experimental club music, but still club music. And with my old project, it was also basically much clubbier music. And I think it's different with that kind of music, but with music which has got organic feel to it and kind of like is slower or whatever, or deeper in a way, it's just kind of can be boring to see that on a big stage, other than you just make it a completely audio visual experience. But with my band, it's an AV show anyway. I take my own visuals and stuff,
Yeah, that's nice. But for me, I've got a band. I've got like different bands. I've got like the full band has got like 6 people, and then 3 people to do other smaller shows, and then the solo show as well. I think it's just like different ways of exploring the music as well, just bringing like doing different making sound and look different as well, with each form. I'm not sure if you say form, but
it's like what we were talking about. It's like going back to what you make on a record and how you present that live and what you want to communicate.
Definitely, that's it. So I'm not sure about like I think we're probably heading to an hour now after all this
I guess
Mariana is telling something.
Okay,
so it was really nice meeting you.
And you, online meeting, man.
Yeah.
It's funny that I assumed that the picture next to you is you and it's Janis Joplin.
I know.
Really funny.
I know.
Actually, it's funny psychology why I would assume it was you.
I don't know. But it's just, it used to be Beethoven here, because I'm actually in my grandparents' old house.
You've replaced Beethoven with Janis. Not bad, man. Good move.
I know.
I'm not in my studio right now, but I have a picture of Delia Derbyshire, who's like this old synth lady, basically. And she's got like a pair of sunglasses and has standing in the middle of synthesizers and cables and stuff.
Perfect.
It's pretty funny,
it's meaningful. Love it.
So all right, nice to meet you.
You
Take
too.
care. Happy New Year, happy Corona.
Happy
everything, man. Happy survival.
Happy survival, definitely. And I hope that we can like meet
in person
in
Brazil,
in the future.
in the sun. I want to go surf, man. I need to surf.
I'm a surfist. You can
I know this from
surf.
your screen share before. I saw top right. You shared your screen.
Yeah.
And on the right there was Rita Surf 1, Rita Surf 2.
Oh my God! The pictures.
I love it, man.
Just come and surf
take
with
me surfing.
Yeah,
please.
I would definitely take you to the beach.
Surfing is like playing music without recording and without having to make albums. You know what I mean? It's just like jamming to music for the sake of making music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. It's just freedom and connection, and then you forget about time. This is surfing.
Exactly. Okay, we forgot about that in the list. All right. Yeah, listen, see you later. Take care, guys.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.